At 72 years old, the Honky Tonk Man has finally broken his silence. The rumors that have followed him for decades, he's ready to address them all. But the truth isn't what you might expect. For over 30 years, Roy Wayne Ferris has been wrestling's most controversial figure, not because of what he did in the ring, but because of what people said he did outside of it. The man who held the Intercontinental Championship for a record 454 days became known for something else entirely. Drama, feuds, and one incident that changed everything. Let's start with the moment that defined his reputation forever. February 21st, 1987, the Snake Pit segment on WWF Superstars. The Honky Tonk Man smashed a guitar over Jake Roberts' head. What happened next would haunt both men for decades. Jake Roberts calls it his worst injury ever. He says it damn near killed him. The guitar, according to Jake, was real, half an inch thick with fiberglass on top. A $500 instrument that wasn't meant to break. Roberts says his body went into shock immediately. He floated around in a daze. The impact exploded discs in his neck. He needed 2 surgeries. For weeks, he picked fiberglass fragments from his back. But here's where it gets complicated. The Honky Tonk Man tells a different story. He says he personally cut into that guitar. He made sure it would cave in when he used it. He disputes Jake's version completely. Honky blames Mick Foley's book for spreading lies. He points out that the guitar never exploded like Jeff Jarrett's gimmicked ones did. So who's telling the truth? The video evidence is clear. The guitar didn't break easily. It took 4 swings before it finally gave way. It barely made a dent. Wrestling cameramen confirmed that real guitars can cause serious damage. Gimmicked guitars are built thin and hollow. They're designed to shatter on impact. Mick Foley summed it up perfectly in his autobiography. He wrote that Honky hit Jake with the best guitar money could buy. The only thing that broke was Jake's vertebrae. Even Foley later reconciled with Honky over the comment. But the damage was done. The story became wrestling legend. The guitar incident opened the floodgates. Suddenly, everyone had a Honky Tonk Man story. Most of them weren't good. His relationships with other wrestlers became public feuds. Each one added to his reputation as wrestling's problem child. Take his cousin, Jerry Lawler. Yes, cousins. Real family. They had public battles that seemed intensely personal. Fans believed there was genuine bad blood between them. Lawler later revealed it was mostly a storyline designed to draw money. They convinced audiences their family feud was real. It worked perfectly, but something real did happen between them. Honky has discussed in shoot interviews why they don't talk anymore. Family business became actual business problems. Their online feuds became content for Honky's controversial website. Even family wasn't off limits when it came to making money from drama. Lawler says their relationship is fine now. They had a long conversation when they ran into each other. Time healed those wounds. But for years, people assumed their family was destroyed by wrestling politics. Another rumor that took on a life of its own. Then there's Roddy Piper. Piper openly stated he hated the Honky Tonk Man. The hatred started over a canceled independent booking. Something that should have been minor business became deeply personal. Piper took it as disrespect. In wrestling's tight-knit community, your word is everything. Breaking commitments can end relationships forever. Honky tried to explain his side. He criticized Piper's commentary style. Said Piper wanted to be the star instead of putting others over. These weren't just personal attacks. They were professional disagreements about how the business should work. But nobody wanted to hear the details. They just saw 2 legends feuding. Bret Hart became another target. Honky criticized Hart's rolling technique, said it was dangerous, claimed Hart broke his forearm during a match. He contrasted this with their earlier work in Canada. Back then, they made names for themselves without risky moves. It was an old school versus new school argument. The wrestling community didn't buy it. People said Honky was lying. They called him bitter and jealous. Hart had a reputation as one of the safest workers in the business. Other wrestlers praised how careful he was. They said wrestling Hart felt effortless because he protected his opponents so well. Honky's credibility took hit after hit. People started questioning everything he said. His shoot interviews became known for wild claims, stories about other wrestlers that seemed impossible to believe. The more outrageous the story, the less people trusted him. He became known as someone who exaggerated facts from his own career. Online forums lit up with criticism. Fans called him bitter. They said he couldn't get over despite WWE's push. Some labeled him overrated, a clown who milked his Elvis gimmick for all it was worth. His willingness to make personal claims about his peers made things worse. Trust once lost is hard to rebuild. But here's what gets lost in all the controversy. The Honky Tonk Man was incredibly effective at his job. His 454-day championship reign wasn't an accident. It wasn't about wrestling ability. Nobody claimed he was technically gifted. His success came from something more valuable. He could make people hate him like no one else. His character was perfectly crafted frustration. He would weasel out of matches, cheat to retain his title, run away when confronted, get counted out or disqualified on purpose. Fans would seethe with anger. They wanted to see him lose more than anything. That desire sold tickets. It made money. It worked. The Ultimate Warrior's victory over Honky became legendary, not because of great wrestling, but because fans desperately wanted to see Honky finally get his comeuppance. The squash match was perfect because of how much heat Honky had built up. He made the Warrior look like a destroyer. By selling the offense perfectly, he put Warrior over as an unstoppable force. This reveals something important about Honky's role. Great villains don't succeed by being loved. They succeed by being hated so much that defeating them feels incredible. Honky understood this better than almost anyone. He milked every drop of heat from his character. He made fans invest emotionally in seeing him fail. Chief Jay Strongbow tried to fire him once. Honky was scheduled to main event against Randy Savage in Louisville. Strongbow dismissed him for unclear reasons. Honky immediately called Vince McMahon. McMahon told him to go to the arena anyway. When Vince arrived, he made Strongbow apologize personally. This shows how much McMahon valued Honky's ability to generate reaction. Even his family connections became storylines. The Tupelo concession stand brawl in 1979 helped create what would later become ECW. As part of the Blonde Bombers with Larry Latham, Honky participated in one of wrestling's most influential matches. The chaotic brawl spilled into the concession area. It pushed boundaries and created new possibilities for hardcore wrestling. Later, WWE offered him a spot in Randy Orton's Legend Killer angle. Honky turned it down. He felt the offer didn't have enough substance, didn't treat his legacy with proper respect. This shows he was selective about his appearances. He understood his worth and wouldn't compromise his standards. His reputation as the shoot interview king became a double-edged sword. It kept him relevant long after his active career ended. Fans tuned in to hear his controversial takes. His website featured intense online rivalries. He provided content and commentary that kept people talking, but it also damaged his credibility when stories seemed too wild to believe. At 72, the Honky Tonk Man remains unapologetic. He's still giving interviews, still telling his version of events, still defending decisions made decades ago. The rumors that have followed him aren't going away. But maybe that was always the point. In wrestling, being forgotten is worse than being controversial. The guitar incident with Jake Roberts will always define part of his legacy. Whether that guitar was gimmicked or real, the consequences were severe. Roberts struggled with addiction. His career trajectory changed. The incident became a cautionary tale about wrestling's real dangers. But it also cemented Honky's reputation as someone who generated genuine heat. His feuds with Lawler, Piper, Hart, and others created decades of stories. Some were works, some were shoots, most were probably somewhere in between. In wrestling's blurred reality, the truth often matters less than the story. Honky understood this better than most. He lived in that gray area where fiction and reality meet. Today, he's a WWE Hall of Famer. His Intercontinental Championship record stood for decades. Only Gunther finally surpassed it in 2023. His Elvis-inspired character remains one of wrestling's most memorable gimmicks. Love him or hate him, nobody forgets the Honky Tonk Man. The rumors he's confirming at 72 that he was exactly who he appeared to be. A man who understood how to work an audience, someone who could generate heat through controversy and conflict. A performer who never backed down from a fight, whether real or staged. In wrestling, that's not a weakness. It's a superpower. The Honky Tonk Man milked his character for everything it was worth. He made people care enough to hate him. He drew money through controversy. He protected the business by never fully breaking character. At 72, he's still doing it. Still making people talk. Still proving that in wrestling, there's no such thing as bad heat, only boring heat. And boring is the one thing Roy Wayne Ferris has never been. Fair.